Good morning, Mizzou fans. Gabe DeArmond here, PM in the AM for Tuesday, October 28th. Obviously, a bye week for Missouri, 6-2 with 4 games left. Announced on Monday afternoon that the November 8th game against Texas A&M is 2:30 on ABC. But with a bye week, look, I really didn't want to do this every day for a month, but it kind of feels like where we're at. We're going to talk coaching carousel and all the noise that is surrounding Eli Drinkwitz. And honestly, I think is going to continue to surround Eli Drinkwitz for a little while. This is going to just kind of be a stream of consciousness going through all the stuff. This will probably last a little bit longer than the normal PM in the AM segment here. We normally go about 5 minutes. I'm expecting this to take 10 or 15. First of all, this is the wildest coaching carousel we've seen, and it's going to get wilder. I mean, Penn State's open, LSU's open, Florida's open, Auburn could be open. There's a chance South Carolina could be open because Virginia Tech's open, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Florida State, all these places could be open, but a lot of them already are by before Halloween, which is unusual. Everybody's trying to get a jump on this thing and just put up the neon sign that says, hey, we have an opening. Now, there are a lot of these places that Missouri fans don't have to worry about. You know, Eli Drinkwitz didn't go to UCLA. He didn't go into Wisconsin if that comes open. Virginia Tech can't hire him. What NIL and the portal and Eli Drinkwitz have done is that there are a lot fewer jobs that are better jobs than Missouri or on par with Missouri than there were 5-10 years ago. And conference realignment has helped that too. I always viewed Missouri as a top 35 to 40 job up until the last few years. I now think this is pretty firmly a top 25 job. You could make the argument top 20, somewhere between 15 and 25, I think is probably reasonable. But 3 of those jobs that, I think most people are going to list as better jobs than Missouri are already open. And I'm not making the argument that Florida is or is not a better job than Missouri. What I'm not going to do here is, tell you where Eli Drinkwitz is going, put a percentage on it, if he's going anywhere. I don't know any of that. I just kind of want to lay out all the factors for you guys because rather than answering questions every single day about this for a month, that I'll just send you the link to this video. Eli Drinkwitz is on the list at Florida. He is on the list at LSU. He is on the list at Penn State. I don't have any doubt about any of that. He will be on the list at Auburn if Auburn opens up, although with his comments about how satisfying it was to go and prove to people there that these coaches were good enough to win, I'm not sure Auburn is one that probably should take up as much of your time as some of these others. From everything I've heard from Penn State, and I want to be clear, this is mostly coming from like national places or the markets that are looking for coaches. There's nothing being said at Missouri, and there shouldn't be anything said at Missouri until and unless there's a contract extension signed, which I don't really anticipate happening before the season is over because that's generally how these things have gone. But nothing good comes of Laird Veach coming out and updating us or updating you guys on where contract negotiations are, what they're trying to do. If he comes out and says, hey, we've got an offer on the table for Coach Drink, or we love what Coach has done and we're doing everything we can to keep him here, all that does is put the entire onus on Eli Drinkwitz and make him look like the bad guy that won't sign a contract extension yet. And that'll turn some fans against him. So there's absolutely no edge to Laird Veach updating us on this until and unless we get a press release or a leak or a Pete Thamel tweet or whatever that Missouri and Drinkwitz have signed a new deal. Assuming that doesn't happen, like I said, most of this information is not coming from Missouri. The feeling a couple weeks ago from people I talked to around Columbia was not all that concerned that Eli Drinkwitz would go anywhere. That may still be the case, but I can tell you that the national feeling, the feeling at some of these other places is there is a definite possibility. Some people even are treating it as likely. I'm not telling you who's right or who's wrong because, again, I don't know. And the only person's opinion who matters is Eli Drinkwitz. But I'm just letting you know that the feeling outside of Missouri is that Eli Drinkwitz is on the market and probably available. So he's one of the 4 or 5 names that's consistently been mentioned at Penn State. Where he is on that list, I don't know. But in talking to people who follow Penn State, he's definitely in the mix there. The fans seem fairly receptive to it. Florida's the interesting one because when Billy Napier was supposed to get fired last year, like at that time, everybody said, "Hey, it's Lane Kiffin and Eli Drinkwitz. Those are the 2." And there seemed to be there was talk that there was this split. The boosters kind of wanted Lane, and the AD kind of wanted Eli. Well, obviously that never came to fruition. Napier came back. Well, now we're back in the same situation. Napier's gone. Most believe Lane Kiffin is number 1 on that list. Here's the problem. In the coaching carousel, oddly, winning games makes you harder to hire and losing games makes it easier. Let me explain. Ole Miss had a game that against Oklahoma last weekend. If Ole Miss loses that game, playoffs are tough. If Ole Miss wins that game, which it did, playoffs look pretty likely. First round of the playoffs is December 19th. There's no chance Lane Kiffin's going to – nobody's pulling a Brian Kelly and leaving a playoff team. Lane Kiffin's going to coach his team as long as it's alive. So the earliest you can deal with Lane Kiffin is December 20th. If they win on December 19th, they're playing New Year's Day. Now you're January 2nd. That's the same day the portal ends. That's getting tough, man. Like, you may really like Lane, but I don't know if you can wait. This also applies, by the way, to LSU. But the Florida thing, let's say Lane was clearly number 1 because that is certainly the impression that has come across. Well, 2 things have happened. Number 1, he's gotten harder to hire because of the timeline. Number 2, LSU's open. And most people think LSU is going to try to make a run at Lane Kiffin. LSU's a better job than Florida. It's a better job than Missouri. It's a better job than the vast majority of them. Brian Kelly's the first guy who's coached there this century not to win a national title. So if we're thinking that, if Lane goes anywhere, that LSU is more likely than Florida, then Florida has to drop down that list a little bit. There's a pretty good chance Eli Drinkwitz number 2 on that list. Maybe not. He could be lower than that, but he's on the list. And I've had a number of people tell me Scott Strickland, the AD there, who's not on the solidest of footing. I don't think that's a word, but the most solid footing that he could be on, but really likes Eli Drinkwitz. Now, again, I am not arguing Florida is a better job. We have talked about all the reasons Eli could stay here. He's got a good situation going. He's the most powerful person on campus. He gets anything he wants. And if he goes 8-4, nobody's trying to fire him. I don't think if Eli Drinkwitz leaves Missouri, it's a financial deal. Missouri will be competitive and maybe even match any offer he gets. If that means he's a top 5 paid coach, I'm confident Missouri will do it. If that means he's a top 3 paid coach, pretty confident Missouri will do it. If somebody wants to pay Eli Drinkwitz $23 million a year or something, maybe Missouri won't do that. But we're talking within the realm of reality. I think if Eli leaves here, it's not because Missouri wouldn't pay him enough. I don't think when it comes to this level of things that money is the most important thing. Obviously, we all want to maximize our value no matter what. But you and I maximizing our value is a little bit different than talking about Eli Drinkwitz, who's already making $9.25 million, getting up to maybe 12, right? Like 12 is more. And if you can get 12, great. But it is not the number 1 consideration because Eli Drinkwitz has already banked $30 to $40 million as a head football coach. He's good. Like, he never has to work another day in his life, and probably neither do his kids. It's not about the money. It's about chasing the title. And that's where has something changed in the last 3 weeks at Missouri, because they did lose to Alabama. They did lose to Vanderbilt. They are, in all likelihood, not going to make the playoff. The schedule the next 2 years is really, really hard. Harder than it's been the last 2 years. So a world exists where Eli Drinkwitz looks at this and says, these last 2 years, man, this was the chance. If he leaves, and I cannot say enough. I don't have a clue. There's certainly a chance he does not leave, and none of this ever matters. But if he leaves, I think what that's saying is we had our chance and we didn't make it, and I don't think it can be done at Missouri. Because for these coaches, more important than money is I want to be at the top of the sport. I want rings and trophies. I want to say I won titles. I want them to talk about me with the best ones in the country. There are only 3 coaches in the country right now active who have won a national championship. It is very difficult to do. I am not saying it's easier to do at Florida than at Missouri. It may be. It probably is at LSU because it's easier at LSU than most places. But at LSU, I get the feeling, that yes, Drinkwitz is on the list. I'm not sure he's quite as high on it initially as at Penn State and at Florida. Penn State and Florida are probably the 2 that I would more pay attention to right now, especially because, again, I think LSU is probably going to chase big fish starting with Lane Kiffin. But because the meaningful part of Missouri's season, as of now, looks like it's probably over on November 29th. Like, I know that the logical thing is, well, if he's not in the playoff, like, you want him less than if he is, but he's available on December 1st as opposed to being available on December 21st, and that does matter because of the early signing period and because you just want to fill these vacancies as soon as possible. And they are not hiring or chasing Eli Drinkwitz based on what happens the next 4 weeks or what happened the last 3 weeks. They are interested in him based on what he has built here over 3 years. And the pitch at these places is going to be, and again, I am not saying it's right. I'm not even saying Drink will believe it. But the pitch is going to be, you have won 30 games in 3 years and done things at Missouri that have never been done. They are hard to do at Missouri, and you did them. Imagine what you could do here where they are easier to do. That is their pitch. Whether it interests Drinkwitz, whether he believes it, whether it works, completely different conversation. And again, he's the only guy that knows that. I don't know that. But I do think this is a thing we're going to be dealing with for the next month and a week, month and 2 weeks, somewhere in there. How much reality and truth there is to the rumors, I don't know, but they are going to be out there and the talk is going to be out there until something happens to shut it down. And I would be very surprised if that happens before the end of the regular season. Doesn't mean it's impossible. I'm sure there are at least some conversations going on, but from what I've gathered, kind of it just seems like this is not something that Eli Drinkwitz probably really wants to mess with during the season. He's got a football team, which, by the way, the one thing we haven't mentioned, this whole conversation could change if you can come out and beat Texas A&M. Now, it is a tall task. I don't think very many people expect it to happen. But if you can do that, all of a sudden, you are right back in that mix of, hey, we go 3-0, we got a shot here. And that, again, messes up the timeline and probably proves to Drinkwitz, hey, it can be done here because, like, you're in the midst of doing it. So, a lot to play out. None of this was about any answers or any definitive statements or anything like that. It is just the noise is there and it is going to continue to be there. And so I thought during a week where there's no game, it's at least worth kind of giving you guys some thoughts and some insight into what other people are saying and thinking and all that. So, hopefully you guys found this useful. If you want to spend every day panicking about this and doing things like looking online and saying, oh my gosh, this book made Eli Drinkwitz the favorite for that job, you can do it. My point of view, I don't have any control over it, and I'm not any part of the decision. If it comes to the point where we need to deal with this and have a list of candidates and all of that, we will do it. We will be ready if that is the case. We are not there yet. But I think you guys and all of us need to be ready that this is the stuff we're going to be dealing with for the next 5 weeks. So appreciate you hanging out. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join us over on the site. Plenty going on. Even though it's a bye week, Cody Goodwin still doing a lot of stuff on the football team. Drew King ramping up to basketball season. Blake Wallace going to be at the women's basketball exhibition for us tonight. So plenty of stuff happening over at Power Mizzou. Hope you come hang out with us there. And thanks for watching here. Talk to you next time.